In today's video, I want to share with you something a little more personal, which is my TRT journey over the past 2 years. I'll briefly explain what TRT actually is, what symptoms of low testosterone actually looks like, walk you through my own symptoms and test results, and talk openly about why I decided to go on treatment, what it costs, and how it's changed my life. This isn't medical advice, I'm just sharing my own journey just in case it helps someone who's going through the same thing that I did. So, what exactly is TRT? Well, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you're doing your own research and you already know the basics. But in case you don't, TRT stands for Testosterone Replacement Therapy. It's a medical treatment for men whose bodies are not producing enough testosterone naturally. Testosterone is the primary male sex hormone, but it goes way beyond just muscles and libido. It affects your mood, energy levels, focus, sleep quality, fat distribution, bone density, and even your motivation and drive. When your levels drop too low, it can impact almost every area of your life. TRT helps restore hormone levels back into a healthy range. So what does low testosterone actually feel like? Some of the most common symptoms include low energy and constant fatigue, reduced strength and muscle mass, gaining fat more easily, poor recovery after training, low mood, irritability, or even depression, brain fog and trouble focusing, low sex drive or problems with performance, trouble sleeping or restless sleep, and reduced motivation and confidence. And it's usually not just one of these things that affects you. It's a cluster that builds up and it just drags the quality of your life down. So you might have seen a stat that 1 in 4 men over the age of 30 has low testosterone. The only way to know is to get a blood test, and even then, both guys might have the exact same test levels but feel completely different. So we are all individual. So for me, probably between 2021, 2022, up to 2023, the symptoms that I was experiencing were severe low energy, constant fatigue, low mood, brain fog, trouble focusing, reduced motivation, irritability, and even borderline depression. My mood was awful. And this was at a time when life was going great. I was financially in the best position we've ever been in. I have an amazing partner in Alicia. We had just had our 4th kid. We've just bought and refurbished our house, had a Range Rover on the drive, and all the businesses were doing well. So on paper, there was literally zero reason to be feeling so low. But day to day, I was just exhausted. I'd sit down to work and I just could not think. I had no motivation. Even down to things like dinner time. I'd have to rest before having dinner, have dinner, rest again, then tidy up, do a few dishes, then rest, then finish up tidying. I just knew that something was not right. For ages, I was eating well, training, sleeping okay, trying all different types of supplements, and nothing helped. Then I saw an advert for low testosterone, and most of the symptoms that were being listed I could really resonate with. So that is when I decided to get tested. So the way it works is you buy a finger prick test that you can do at home. You get it sent in the post. It's a very easy, quick and simple test to do. Once you do that, if you are then in the low range, you are then asked to do a more thorough blood test, which is where you either have to go to a clinic or you have a phlebotomist come to your house. And then if you're diagnosed then again, so if both tests match up that you're within the lower range, you are then able to start treatment. So you then have your consultations and stuff like that. Right, so I'm going to put my test result on the screen now. And my first test was in September 2023, and it came back at 7.85 nanomoles per litre, which is below the UK healthy range of 8.6 to 29. That's the ranges. For US viewers, that's 226 nanograms per deciliter, which is again also below the healthy cutoff of 264 to 916. So as I said before as well, the second test came back and testosterone levels were slightly higher at 8.9. But this just confirmed that I was dealing with low testosterone. So getting those two results and knowing that this was going down the private route, I thought I would try going to the NHS and getting a blood test there. Now, again, I'll pop this up on the screen. My blood test results with the NHS came back at 10.1. So again, slightly higher than the others, but the doctor just said, well, you just need to relax, your life seems a bit hectic, you need to relax a bit more, come back in a year and we'll see, you know, how you get on. Now, I have read loads and loads of comments online saying how the NHS, they just don't want to treat people, you know, if 1 in 4 men over the age of 30, that's 25% of you know, men over the age of 30 potentially that need treatment. That would cost the NHS a lot of money. So I've read all that online. I've gone there. He's essentially said we're not going to give you any treatment anyway. So my experience in the NHS, I tried it because obviously paying for this yourself is expensive. But yeah, there was only one way it was going. Now, you may be thinking, well, Ollie, you're only just on, you know, under the line. You know, could you have done anything better? You know, given it a little bit more time? Maybe perhaps. But like I said, for 2 years or so, I was feeling awful, and I have tried so much stuff up to this point. So in October 2023, I decided to bite the bullet and go private. So obviously I went with a company called Optimal, and let's just go through what I am prescribed to take right now. So I take 0.45 milliliters of Testosterone Cypionate twice weekly on a Monday and a Thursday. This is the actual testosterone replacement. I inject twice a week rather than once, so it keeps levels stable and avoids peaks and crashes. Then I'm also on 0.21 milliliters of HCG twice weekly. So again, do that on a Tuesday and a Friday. That's what keeps the signal to your testes switched on. So without it, your testes can shrink and sperm production can shut down. So taking HCG helps maintain testicular size and fertility and makes recovery easier if you ever stop taking TRT. I'm also on 0.25 milligrams of Anastrozole twice weekly. I take that on days I take my HCG. This stops too much testosterone converting into estrogen. So a small amount of estrogen is healthy, but too much causes problems. So this keeps everything balanced. In terms of how I take it, I do 4 injections per week. As I said, testosterone on Mondays and Thursdays, HCG on Tuesdays and Fridays. I use small insulin needles and inject subcutaneously into belly fat. Subcutaneous injections are less painful and easier to manage long term, and they give steady absorption, which also helps keeps my levels consistent. Right, let me go a little bit deeper here on costs, because if you're seriously considering starting TRT, I'm sure you want to know. So I am paying £110 per month subscription, and that gets me the Cypionate and doctor reviews every sort of 3 to 6 months. It depends on, you know, how often they deem I need it. Now the HCG, it varies in costs, but essentially I've just done a 6-month analysis of the past 6 months, because prices go up and down a little bit of this because it's an additional, but I am paying roughly about £32.50 per month for the HCG, which includes a bit of backwater as well, bacteriostatic water, which you need to mix in with it, and that's about £7.50 for 2 mil. I'm not sure how many mil vials, but a fair amount of water that lasts a little while, so it's hardly anything. Now I currently buy my needles, and a year's supply of needles with the alcohol wipes about £50. I'm pretty sure you could probably get this free. I just haven't had a chance to look into that at the moment. Now blood costs, these vary massively and depend. So on blood costs, it's a little bit different. If you're going to need the blood finger prick test, which is a cheaper test, can be sent at home, you don't need a phlebotomist, they're cheaper. If you need the more in-depth test, which they'll make you take, you need to you pay, I think it's say £70. Yeah, it's about £80 for the blood test itself, so the kit. Then you either need to go and find your own phlebotomist or clinic yourself. You can pay to use one of their clinics, so you have to go there. So my nearest one was half an hour away in Tunbridge Wells. Or you can have a phlebotomist visit your house under them as well. So I've paid for that one, which is the most expensive, obviously, but it saves me time. So for me, it's worth doing. And if every 6 months I need 2 of those phlebotomist tests, it adds up to be about £300 annually. Blood tests can also vary. It depends. As you're getting dialed in when you first start, you need more frequent tests, but as you go down the line with it, they become more infrequent. I think every 6 to 12 months potentially. And finally, the Anastrozole, I think is about £20 for a massive packet, and I quarter the tablets with a pill cutter, and they last ages. So in total, for me, it works out at roughly about £170. But obviously, like I said, you can bring those costs down, but if you factor in, you know, having to drive somewhere and all that sort of stuff, your hourly wage and all that jazz, yeah, and the amount of blood tests and how you do it, it can vary, but I'm paying roughly about £170 a month. Okay, so now I just want to show you my testosterone levels over time. And by January 2024, after starting TRT, so this is my starting area, starting levels. This is the American value, this is the English value. Now, obviously, you can't really see too well the graphs there, so if we just use the American value, by January 2024, after starting TRT, my levels had more than doubled up to 16.6 nanomoles per litre, or 478 nanograms per deciliter for the American terms. They're just two different ways of measuring your testosterone levels. Now, that was already a huge improvement for me, and I could start to feel the difference in my energy and focus. Then April 2024, my testosterone hit 23.5 or 677, putting me comfortably into the healthy range. This is the top, this is the bottom for Americans, and yeah, I was sitting nicely. By August 2024, I had peaked at 35.3, which is about 1,017 odd in US numbers. So it's a little bit above the standard reference range, and this is something you have to carefully monitor with your clinic, making sure your dosage is dialed in so you're not going too high. So with that, we reduced it down. I think that what I was taking, the doctor reduced me down, and in February 2025, my blood work came back at 23.9. 688, which was a good balancing point for me. And in June 2025, they was at 23.4. So again, right in that sort of healthy range. Now, I just want to show you as well an estrogen levels. Now, this is the I think this is quite interesting. Overall, my estrogen has fluctuated throughout treatment, but it stayed inside the normal range, which is exactly what you want to see. Now, this is why regular blood tests and blood work is so important with TRT, because you're not just tracking testosterone, you're making sure your whole hormonal picture stays balanced. So when I started, I was here. We start injecting testosterone, it shoots right up. I then was prescribed Anastrozole, and I was on 3 tablets, or taking it 3 times a week. I think it was 0.25 milligrams, 3 times a week, which shot my estrogen right down. So fantastic. So you can see by August 2024, it had shot right down. Then what we've done, and sorry, the reason I said that is because when I was younger, I had gyno as a kid, and I've had breast reduction surgery. So I think naturally my body produces more estrogen than it should. So in saying that, that's why we went to 3 tablets, and then we're not supposed to be on it, I think. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical expert, but we've gone down to 2 tablets a week now, as I've said, and my estrogen levels are going up, but we're just seeing how that balance. So you can see how you have to constantly get your bloods done and consistently monitor everything that's going on. So you can see the progression. I started off clinically low, and through using TRT, I was able to bring my levels back up and keep them stable, which has made a huge difference in how I feel day to day. And just to add, I don't really feel like I've suffered from any side effects throughout this whole time. Obviously, everyone's different, and that's why regular blood work and monitoring is key. But for me, the whole process has been really, really smooth. So looking back, it does feel like I was living in black and white before TRT. Everything in life just felt heavy, exhausting, and just flat, even though on the outside life was going really well. Since starting treatment, it has been night and day. My energy is stable, my focus is sharper, my mood is better, and I feel just more motivated. But it hasn't turned me into Superman. You still need to eat well, train, sleep, and look after yourself, but it has given me the foundation to actually feel like my motivated and self-driven self again. Now for me, that matters, because I try to be the best version that I can be, and I want to live my life to the absolute fullest that I can. I've got multiple businesses that I want to grow, and I've got 4 kids that I want to be present and energetic for. Having this energy back through TRT means that not only can I concentrate on all of that now, but hopefully this TRT is going to keep me consistent for the rest of my life and give me that oomph to go out and do what I can. And you know, if any of this sounds familiar, If you're constantly tired, struggling with focus, or you just don't feel like yourself, don't ignore it. A lot of men put it down to stress or just getting older, but sometimes it's something a lot deeper than that. Getting tested was the turning point for me, gave me the answers, and it could be for you too. So if you're struggling, take that first step and get checked. It could genuinely change your life just like it did for me. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you found it useful, then make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Just leave them in the comment section below.